Welcome back to Skyline Stroll. Today we're going to be talking about accepting the past, working through the feelings that the past causes, and then breaking the habit of the old self so the new self can thrive. And should be a good little walk. It's a topic that's been on my mind for the last couple of days, so I'm thinking I really want to get this one out here and make it my next topic. And we'll get to motivation in an upcoming video. So it's a pretty day out. The snow's starting to melt. It's still fairly cold, but it's some pretty good weather for a walk, so I'm pretty grateful for that. And today we're talking about old past wounds, old traumas, things like that, and how to start smoothing that over so it can stop ruining every day forever. So for starters, identify the trauma or trauma events in your life that have led you to possess limiting or restricting or overly defensive beliefs, and allow yourself to separate these events into like a column. They don't have to be like violent or like the worst soap opera content you've ever heard. It can be something as simple as my dad never approved, or I was rejected from this entire friend circle and don't understand why. It doesn't have to be my whole family died or something like that. Whatever it is, that's fine. Make a list of whichever events in your life you think have caused you to have like reoccurring wounds, like wounds of your mind almost. And now once we've done that, we're going to need to develop a weird skill here where we kind of try to get objective and separate ourselves from our own feelings for a bit. I'm not saying we're not going to feel them. I'm saying we're going to understand that they were how we felt at the time and were a very viable and understandable reason. Potentially were very understandable ways to feel at the time. And if you don't think it was something that was fair for you to think or believe, then, well, you just gotta understand that you acted against your own wishes at that time. But if you find that you didn't act against your own wishes and did everything in a scenario to try and make it the best you could, then we move on to the next step, which is accepting why we felt the way we did and so forth. So for this, you might ask yourself some questions like, what did I know about the situation? How well did I know the person? What could I or couldn't I control in the situation? And you'll find that there's going to be a list of things that kind of fall into gray areas, like you're not sure if it was something you did, something another did, if there was something you could or couldn't have done. The fact of the matter is, thinking like that will make you feel a little crazy. You got to just learn to accept that it happened and it made you feel this way for this reason. And then from there, you can actually start to like understand, process, and kind of heal it a bit. If you don't understand it or accept it fully, you literally can't even like start on really healing it for the most part. You can start by trying to understand it. So, an understanding of what happened can be a great starting point for figuring out how to best break down the events in your past that have wounded you. From here, you want to process and feel those emotions in those situations, and like I said, try to be objective and separate yourself from them. Like, understand that they were how you felt at the time and are not necessary. They do not need to be a reflection of how you feel now. Every time you relive a painful or traumatic memory or embarrassing memory, you're not actually required to like go back and experience all those feelings, all that pain all over again. You can slowly learn to try and not do that as much. Just try and go back and look at it separately and objectively and accept why things went the way they did, no matter what the situation is. And that will help you actually process and potentially let go of your anger and stuff. Now, processing and accepting your past is a great start, but the fact of the matter is old thought patterns can be very persistent, and so you're going to have to also kind of at the same time break the habit of the old self, because your old way of being, your old way of thinking, your state of being that you're comfortable in, which doesn't have to be a good state of being. You can be comfortable in a bad state of being or in chaos, which isn't great for you. So this comfort state of being that you might be in, if you are someone with a lot of trauma in your past, will try to creep back in. It'll try to find every door it can to get into your life. So you kind of, after you accept and understand what happened, have to try and, well, break the habit of the old self a bit and break away some of those old ways of thinking one at a time. For this, you're going to need to find some phrases of affirmation. So like, after you have figured out some reoccurring thought patterns you have that keep bringing you back to old ways of being, things like maybe this is pointless or something, you kind of need phrases to help you like process, move on, and accept that you're in a different chapter of your life now, probably. And if you're not, that you will be eventually. So if you're going through something right now, I feel for you. Stay strong and remind yourself that this too shall pass. So every bad situation is temporary. Every good situation is temporary. That's just how life works. And so don't cling to avoiding change. Change is going to happen. You got to get better at adapting to change quickly. That's the real secret. So if you're stuck in the past, you're not going to be able to adapt to change easily. And you can also try and use these phrases of affirmation when you're in the throttle of accepting things. So like, if whatever you went through happened when you were really young, part of the reason you might accept some of your own perceived shortcomings in those situations is tell yourself, I was young. I didn't know how to do that or how to avoid that. How was I supposed to know how to do that or why to avoid that? And things like this, reaffirming, especially when you get back into rethinking about it again. When you find yourself coming back to it, go, no, we accepted that I did the best I could in that situation. That's all we ever can do. And if I didn't, then I learned that I wasn't doing my best and can now start doing my best. That's the thing. Once you accept what is, it becomes possible to change what will be and what could be. So try and dig deep. Think about some of the ugly skeletons in the closet you really don't want to, and drag them out and see what they're about. And once you have, you might find it entirely possible to just accept them, move on, and live a completely different life and say, that was then, and I learned those hard lessons, and I'm not going to let them go to waste. So by not letting something bad that happened to you in your past rule your future and put you into this scarcity mindset where you feel like you're always on defense, like you're always shielding what little you have, and it's hard or almost impossible to climb up or get more, do better for yourself. Well, you got some deep emotions there you're going to need to think through. So good luck on that. That battle's going to be a little different for everyone, so there's only so much advice I can actually give for breaking the habit of the past and accepting the present and accepting the past and learning to split them up so one isn't overriding the other. If you struggle with this, you might find things often feel very out of your control because you're constantly giving power over to things that are out of your control. When you tell yourself, oh, well, this, you can apply some very sick bias, some very intense bias to the past. So this can even be hard to do because I said you want to be objective about your emotions, but the truth of the matter is that's easier said than done. Your mind forms these biases, can even kind of alter your memory a little bit to make you remember it in a way that doesn't make you hate yourself or feel a need to change your identity. So, because at the end of the day, your mind is trying to protect you from what you go through. And it takes some serious sitting down and enjoying a quiet moment to yourself and really just thinking about where you were and where you are, why you were there and why you are now. And if you think about all these couple of random questions, you might find it possible to think, where do I want to be? Who do I want to be? And what do I want my future to look like? Trauma doesn't have to cast a dark shadow over every day of your life forever. It only does that if you let it become your identity. If you identify as the traumatized person, the person who's been through a lot, then yeah, that's going to come back around and be a reoccurring theme. But if you accept you've had maybe a couple hard knocks or some tougher lessons and then move on and tell yourself, I'm finding out who I am. I'm not pain. I'm not trauma. I'm a person. We all go through a little bit of those things in our life. And then you can figure out who you actually are. So it's a deeper topic, trying to break the habit of the old self. Like, I'm no expert on this. I've done a good amount of it. I'm constantly working on it. I think it's why I feel the need to talk on it right now, is because I've made a lot of changes in the last few months. And I constantly notice almost every day something comes up in my mind that makes me want to do something I used to do, slip back into old ways, think in old ways, get caught up in my own anxiety and stress, when in all honesty, I have a lot less to worry about now than I did a year ago. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't let a couple of grim moments turn your whole life into a sob story. Because who wants to live a life that's all doom and gloom? Life can be really, really great if we let it. So let's do our very best to let life be great. And I wish you all luck with sorting your minds, sorting your past, and learning to reduce your general stress levels. I don't know about the rest of the world, but here in America, we all definitely need to get a little better at managing our stress and just cutting it back where we can. It is a silent killer after all. So I'm going to wrap it up here. You guys have a lovely evening, and I will be back in the next couple of days with another random topic on my mind to talk about. So have a good night, and take care of yourself and your mind.